in Tucson, a targeted attack.
Congresswoman Giffords was shot once in the head.
And right now, the hunt for an accomplice.
And I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Tonight, 6 people are dead, among them a federal judge and a child.
This is for not only Arizona, but for America.
Now, with the nation in mourning, we ask ourselves, how did this happen?
We have become the Mecca for prejudice and bigotry.
New information tonight about the victims and the accused killer. Thanks for choosing us. I'm Katie Rammel.
And I'm Steve Irvin, live in Tucson, where the investigation continues to unfold right behind me where this shooting took place. Officers are expected to be on the scene all night long. Tonight, there is some new information emerging. Doctors are optimistic about the chances of Gabrielle Giffords' recovery after a devastating gunshot wound to the head. She has pulled through surgery. She is in intensive care tonight. Meantime, police say they are searching for a possible second person who may have been involved in this shooting, somebody they are calling a person of interest, but not in custody at this hour. We have team coverage from Tucson here. Rudabeh Shabazi standing by live at the University Medical Center. And later on, Brian Webb will have a compelling story about one of the heroes in this shooting.
We really don't know if she was simply a high-profile target or a political target, or if even a target at all, if this was just some sort of random shooting. So, yeah, interviewing him and getting some more information, which I'm sure police are doing at this very moment.
I mean, is it really because she was able to just hold on to that seat against this tide, this Republican tide that swept across the nation? Is that really why she got shot?
And we're just getting his name in, and Jared Lottler is the name of the person taken into custody, 21-year-old Jared Lottler. Of course, we'll be looking into a lot more information, obviously, on his background and who he is, where he's from, and if there is some sort of motivation or illness or something that is at work there that would drive somebody to that edge to do something like that. So we believe we have Tim Vetcher joining us now from the Capitol with the very latest details on that. Tim?
Yeah, again, Katie, we are awaiting a news conference, if you will, from Governor Jan Brewer. We're being told that she was here practicing her State of the State speech when she was made aware of the shootings down in Tucson. That was about 10:45 Phoenix time.
But we know that Representative Giffords was one of the victims. She is currently at a hospital in the area, and she is battling for her life.
President Obama giving a brief speech right now that we expected. We also are expecting to hear from the governor in just a few minutes, but the president asking for the country to come together in this time of crisis, that the FBI is headed in to do this investigation. We knew a bit of that early on when we heard who was involved in this attack.
It's an unbelievable tragedy that the people of Arizona experienced today. One of which, of course, in our worst nightmares, we would never could have imagined would have taken place.
I want to check in with ABC 15's Lori Jane Gliha, part of the investigative team here at the station, with more on this person accused in this case. Lori Jane?
Yeah, Katie, we've been looking into his background. We did a little background check online, looked through the court system. I was only able to find one small municipal court, which may have been sort of a traffic violation in his court history. But we've also been kind of looking through online. I want to show you what we found so far. The Arizona Daily Star has posted this on their website. It's a picture of somebody named Jared Loeffner, which is the same name of the suspect, at the Tucson Literacy Fair. The law enforcement officials have not confirmed that this is the suspect, but this, again, a picture of someone with the same name. Now, in our research that we've done on YouTube and online, the person who is named Jared Loeffner, who's posted many politically charged issues, has also been obsessed with literacy and currency. I want to show you something else I found online. I'm going to pull it up right now, that somebody had posted. We tried to get into his MySpace account. We looked it up, but when we tried to click on it, it said it was unavailable. You could not get into it. But somebody else posted this stream, which came from this Jared Loeffner's MySpace page, and you can see it says "Goodbye, friends." Dear friends, please don't be mad at me. The literacy rate is below 5%. I haven't talked to one person who is literate, and you can see the message kind of cuts off here. This is because it's a photograph or some sort of capture that came from his MySpace page. So at this point, we can't get into the MySpace page, but this is what somebody has reposted as having taken a picture of his page.
Okay, Steve. Steve, stay with us just 1 second, because we have, last Thursday, our Daybreak crew conducted an interview with Giffords, and that was with Kirk Yunke, and I think that we have that ready to air. Let's listen to that right now.
So joining us on the phone this morning is one of Arizona's representatives who's going to be there today, busy, Representative Gabrielle Giffords, who is a Democrat. Thank you for joining us. Tell us a little bit, Representative, about how things change for you guys as Democrats now that you're no longer in charge.
Well, it's true. We are going from the majority to the minority, but the fact that it was the most productive Congress, according to most congressional experts, in decades really goes to show that, yes, it's true that change is difficult, but when it comes to making sure that we actually have an economy, that we push forward legislation that would make sure that all Americans have access to affordable, quality health care, that we were able to add $600 million to additional border security funding just a couple of months ago. You know, these are important measures that will improve the national security for American people and also our prosperity as well.
You have been listening in as World News Tonight is on for the East Coast, and we've been dipping in so you can get a better understanding of how the rest of the nation is seeing us after a shooting happening down in Tucson today at about 10 o'clock this morning. In fact, correspondent David Wright joins me now, and you can kind of give a better perspective on how the nation is seeing this. I mean, we take such pride in Arizona, as does any state, and then to have something like this happen, and it's so difficult to for us to put this in perspective then for the rest of the country, how they're seeing us.
The rest of the nation is baffled by this, and there's concern out there that some of the really poisonous issues that have been roiling here in Arizona might now be turning deadly. I think that's one concern. There are a lot of unanswered questions, though, about whether that's indeed the case, whether this guy was just a nutcase who had a single act of violence or whether he was part of a broader agenda. I think that's something that everybody's wondering about.
And so early on, we were concerned that there might be either copycat attacks or coordinated attacks, that this was part of a broader thing across the country.
That's right. It's been interesting to note that across the political spectrum nationwide, from the leaders of the Tea Party to the Democratic establishment in Washington, people are in lockstep condemning this act and saying that this act is something that they see as an aberrant situation and something that, at least for now, members of Congress are not concerned is part of a coordinated effort.
Steve, what more is changing down there? I know you're right outside of the scene where this happened.
Right, Katie, the FBI is definitely taking over the investigation at this point, and Chris Sine actually reported a little bit earlier that some of the agents that are moving down here to take over what you can imagine is an extensive crime scene were actually working the national championship game up there in Phoenix and were brought down here. You can tell that this is something that the federal government is taking very seriously, and all of that said, it's also a massive crime scene. More than a dozen shots fired, as many as 18 shots fired that we've heard. We've heard multiple accounts about what might have happened, and so they've got to diagram all of that very, very carefully. Meantime, the intersection here at Ina and Oracle, for people who are familiar with Tucson, completely shut down. This is normally two very busy streets that come together with a lot of retail, a lot of businesses here. All of this is shut down, and it's expected to stay that way for some time. Meantime, I want to send it over to Rutabaga Shibazi. She's standing by at the University Medical Center here in Tucson, where we have just heard about the condition of Representative Gabrielle Giffords, and it sounds like, Rutabaga, a miracle that she survived this.
Yeah, Steve, it really is amazing. She actually had the bullet go all the way through her head. It went through her brain, and still she was responding to commands, which really is remarkable. And she's clinging to life. We're told that her family is here surrounding her. Her father apparently came in a wheelchair. Her mother is here. So they're all here surrounding her, just on standby in case anything, goes wrong. But the surgeon came in and talked to us, and he said he is as optimistic as he can possibly be in this situation about her her recovery.
In the meantime, Brian McElhatton joins us, and you have a little more information on who this judge was.
That's right. I just got off the phone with Arizona District Court, talked to a spokesperson there. I asked him if Judge Roll was down there for any particular reason, perhaps any official business. He said absolutely not. This judge was a personal friend of the Congresswoman. She had actually called him last night, left him a voicemail on the phone saying, I'm doing this meeting with constituents. I'd like to see you down there. So he came down to show his support.
Wow.
And he was just caught up in the crossfire there, from what I understand. The court's calling this a senseless, tragic loss. We're also told that this judge has 3 sons, 5 grandchildren. The spokesperson tells me he was an incredible family man, well-liked by many, very warm and kind to his staff. I've heard that he was known to be so friendly to his staff, by the time the 5 o'clock hour rolls around and they're still busy working, he said, hey, go ahead, go home, be with your family. You know, we can continue this work tomorrow morning. So very centered individual from what I understand, very family focused, just an all-around good guy from what his staff is telling me right now.
Back here in the studio, we want to check in with ABC 15's Brian Webb. He headed down to Tucson and has even more. Brian, earlier today, I know you were able to catch up with people who were right there when this whole thing went down.
Yes, we were. And before I get to that, Katie, they have just now opened the road behind me. These are some of the first cars who've been through here all day since 10 o'clock when this shooting happened. This is Oracle Road, Ina Road up the street, 2 major crossroads, just opened in the past maybe 2 minutes. So some progress being made as far as that's concerned.
We're going to begin with Corey Rangel and Lori Jane Gliha also looking into this as well. Corey, I know that you talked with some of his high school friends today.
Yeah, his former classmates describe him as a little strange and as a loner. This certainly has put a lot of attention on him and his motives. And right now, a large part of this investigation focuses on where he lives. Tonight, investigators continue to search through Jared Loeffner's Tucson home, looking for anything that might give them more insight into what triggered today's deadly shooting. Loeffner lived at the home with his parents. Several neighbors say they didn't know the family, but knew something was wrong when police roped off the home with crime tape shortly after the shooting. All day, people drove by the neighborhood, including several of Loeffner's former high school classmates, who say he kept to himself and described him as different.
Really quiet kid, antisocial. He hung out with like all the, I kind of want to say like unpopular kids. They're like antisocial. They always wore black, like a lot of piercings, dye their hair, just dress really weird.
Loeffner graduated high school in 2007 from Mountain View High in Tucson. Because he was quiet, many students say they didn't know him but recognized his picture.
I don't know, it was just kind of shocking. It was someone I recognized from seeing at school.
He was just off to himself and more of an outcast.
While classmates remember him as a bit of an outsider, they say they never expected him to be accused of anything like this.
Such a small kid, I wouldn't think that he would pull something like that.
I want to know why he did it, but you know, obviously they're looking into that.
But we begin tonight with the very latest information coming in about the victims in this shooting, including a 9-year-old girl. We want to show you a picture of her, Christine Taylor Green. She had just been elected to serve on the student council at her school. A classmate's father says this 9-year-old girl made a big impression.
You know, outgoing, intelligent girl. I mean, she's on student council, you know, so, you know, usually the kids on the student council have some good things going for them.
She just wanted to go meet Gabrielle Giffords today. You're seeing a book here called The Faces of Hope. Christine was born on 9/11, the very same 9/11 of the attacks on the World Trade Center, and she's featured in a book that shows the babies born on 9/11. We're also getting our first look tonight at the congressman's staffer killed. Gabe Zimmerman was Representative Giffords' Director of Community Outreach. The 30-year-old had worked for Giffords since 2007. U.S. District Judge John Roll also among the 6 people killed. We're learning more about him tonight as well, and we'll bring you that in just a few minutes.